don't know how to fix the holes in our ozone layer. You don't know how to bring the salmon back up a dead stream. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. And you can't bring back the forest that once grew where there is now a desert.
You have ignored us in the past and you will ignore us again. We have run out of excuses and we are running out of time.
Show us your faithfulness. Show us your trustworthiness. Show us your honesty. Prove us wrong. We desperately need you to prove us wrong. God help us all. If you fail to prove us wrong, God help us.
Hi everyone, welcome to WION Live Broadcast from New York City. I'm Susan Tehrani. First, let's take a look at the stories making headlines this hour. Manufacturing giant 3M reaches a $6 billion settlement over claims by U.S. military veterans that earplugs made by the company were faulty and failed to protect their hearing. Chinese premier warns U.S. against politicizing trade issues. Such curbs will prove disastrous for the global economy. Comments amid U.S. Commerce Secretary's 4-day visit to China. The European Commission says that the forest blaze in Greece is the largest wildfire ever recorded in the EU. And the bloc is mobilizing nearly half its firefighting air wing to tackle it. India cut the price of cooking gas for households by about 18% to rein in on inflation. The decision will impact about 100 million low-income families. The pressure is mounting on Luis Rubiales to resign as head of Spanish football. The federation's regional leaders demand Rubiales' exit after Spanish prosecutors began a, quote, sexual aggression investigation. The Estonian Prime Minister is under mounting pressure over claims that her husband has maintained business interests in Russia. Even Estonia's president has said this report has put the credibility of the Estonian state into question. Reports emerged last week that Stark Logistics, a company partly owned by Kaja Kallas's husband, Arvo Halik, continued to do business in Russia since the invasion of Ukraine last year. Although Kallas and Halik maintained that the business was assisting another Estonian company, Metaprint, to wrap up trade with Russia, Estonia's local media have reported that Metaprint sold some $18 million worth of goods to Russia between the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022 and the following November. This revelation comes as Prime Minister Kaja Kallas remains one of Europe's most outspoken supporters of Ukraine. She has time and again urged all EU companies to stop doing business with Russia after its invasion of Ukraine. And ever since the war began, she has said there must be no business with Russia. Moreover, her husband, Arvo Halik, responded to this and said that he would sell his 25% stake in Stark Logistics, a trucking company that works with the Estonian company involved in Russia. He also said that he will resign as the company's chief financial officer and step down from the board as well. Halik insists that his wife is not aware of his business activities. Estonia's prime minister is not the only high-level politician who has faced flack for being involved in Russian businesses. Here in the United States, President Joe Biden's son Hunter is being accused of receiving millions from oligarchs in Russia and Kazakhstan when Joe Biden was vice president of the United States. All right, for more on this, we are now being joined by former German ambassador to NATO, Joachim Bitterlich from Normandy. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us on WION. So the headline that most papers are going with is Estonia's hypocrisy over the war in Ukraine. What do you make of this?
Well, it's a new subject, if you want. It's what I call compliance in politics. And it becomes more and more difficult and more sensitive. The first question is, okay, the husband of a lady may be, let's say, touched by, let's say, compliance subjects of the other side of a marriage. The question will be, and the family, what we will do with the family, brothers, sisters, uncles, cousins, etc., and what's the degree? In this Estonian case, it's interesting, I'm aware of extreme sensitivity with regard to Russia. The Estonians are extremely anti-Russian. It's well known, it's clear. But on the other hand, the husband of the prime minister has been following, let's say, this job, following the rules of Estonia. Nothing more, nothing less. And a total boycott of Russia has never been decided by the European Union. Perhaps wishful thinking of some, but there have been always certain commercial ties. And for me, the question is, where are the limits? I understand the sensitivity, but where are the limits in such a case?
Yeah, and we have that situation here in the United States as well, where politicians, well, right now it's Joe Biden, the president of the United States, who insists that he's not involved in his son's business dealing. And we hear that from the Estonian prime minister as well, talking about her husband's business dealings. But, is that even realistic?
Well, in political terms, it's normal that you are automatically under fire by any opposition. This is valuable to President Biden because of his son. This is valuable in this case here. It has been valuable in France because of the former Prime Minister Fillon with Russian business, for Sarkozy and Hollande and others. It's automatically you are under fire. And they would be wise, let's say, to abstain from any business during such a sensitive time. It's clear. But where are the limits in my eyes? He could have done to a special party his parts of a company. Yes, it would have been perhaps more wise than maintaining it till now. But, well, it's political sensitivity. But the question for me is still, well, I understand it. It would have been wiser to put these parts, let's say, into a neutral part. Yes, but on the other hand, where are really the limits for any politician and his family? Where are the limits? Legal constraints, I accept entirely. Moral constraints, yes. And in this case, well, you have to add what I call the extreme political sensitivity of his case in Estonia. And I'm a bit astonished because the Estonian Prime Minister is considered in Brussels and in the European capitals as one of the biggest talents in politics. in international politics. And therefore, I'm a bit astonished because of this lack of certain sensitivity.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for that. And Ambassador, I guess the sensitivity is somewhat global, notably in the global south, where countries are wondering, where is the limit for them when Europe lectures them on doing business with Russia? And then we have a story like this as well. It was a pleasure speaking to you, Ambassador. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. Goodbye. Thank you.
The anger against Japan's release of treated radioactive water is growing. Both China and South Korea are livid. The situation has gotten so bad that Japanese nationals in China are now being harassed. Reports suggest that 225 harassment calls have been made till date. And moreover, a brick has been thrown at the country's embassy in Beijing after the release of water from the Fukushima nuclear power plant. The incident at the embassy was confirmed by Japan's foreign minister. The minister further echoed calls for Prime Minister Fumio Kishida for China to take action to calm the situation. And since the incident, Japan has urged its tens of thousands of citizens in China to keep a low profile and has increased security around schools and diplomatic missions. Take a listen.
ご指摘のような事案が生じておりますことは、極めて遺憾であり、憂慮をしております。状況の深刻化防止のため、国民に冷静な行動を呼びかけるなど、適切な対応を早急に行うとともに、
Although China has a different take on the wastewater release, they believe Japan is to be blamed for the tensions which are rising.
日本政府无视国际社会的强烈质疑和反对，单方面强行启动福岛核事故污染水排海，引发各国人民强烈愤慨。这是导致当前局面的根源所在。如果日方强推核污染水排海是基于科学，为何日本国内的反对声浪至今仍难以平息？
Last week, China banned all seafood imports from its neighbor as Japan began releasing treated wastewater from the crippled plant in an operation Tokyo and the United Nations nuclear watchdog has said is safe, despite objections for the release of wastewater raised both at home and abroad from fishing communities and others worried about the environmental impact. The UN and Japan also insist that it's safe.
Notんです。約束したのは全部保護にしちゃう。約束を破るのが当たり前なんです。納得いくまでにはって言ったら放出しないと言ってたんです。そんなのは何もない。
China has imposed a ban on the imports of seafood products from Japan. Tokyo is now threatening to take China to the World Trade Organization to seek a reversal of Beijing's ban on all of its seafood imports. Japan's foreign minister told reporters that Japan will take necessary action on China's aquatic product ban under various routes, including the WTO framework, while Japan's economic security minister said that filing a WTO complaint might become an option if protesting to China through diplomatic routes is ineffective. So the United States and China have taken a significant step in addressing their strained economic relations in a move that could potentially pave the way for dialogue and understanding. The U.S. Commerce Department has announced that the launch of export control enforcement information talks and the establishment of a formal working group on commercial issues. These talks mark a departure from the previous deadlock, providing a potential forum for open discussion. Meetings between the U.S. Commerce Secretary and Chinese Commerce Minister paved the way for this strategic dialogue. The U.S. Commerce Secretary unveiled this pivotal initiative in her remarks to the media. Take a listen.
I have a few announcements I'd like to make. First, we agreed to establish a new commercial issues working group, a formal working group, which will involve U.S. and Chinese government officials, and very importantly, U.S. and Chinese commercial private sector representatives, as we seek solutions on trade and investment issues and to advance U.S. commercial interests in China. So to the 100+ businesses with whom I spoke, I'm happy to say we're delivering. We will have that formal communication. Second, we agreed to launch an export control enforcement information exchange that will serve as a platform, we hope, to reduce misunderstandings of U.S. national security policies.
These developments arise amid China's criticism of U.S. efforts to limit access to advanced semiconductor technology through export controls. The newly established platform may offer both countries an opportunity to express their concerns and seek common ground in what has been a contentious trade environment. The United States is bracing for Hurricane Idalia as it's set to make landfall in Florida after surging past western Cuba. Governor Ron DeSantis has declared a state of emergency in Florida, and according to the National Hurricane Center, Idalia has intensified into an extremely dangerous hurricane before making a landfall on Wednesday in Florida. Officials have ordered mass evacuation and have warned residents to brace for a possible major Category 3 hurricane, with sustained winds topping at least 179 kilometers per hour before slamming ashore later in the day. The NHC projected Idalia's center would likely cross Florida's coastline, so nowhere in the Big Bend region.
The storm is moving off to the north at 8 miles per hour and is expected to intensify and approach the west coast of Florida as we get into Tuesday night and Wednesday. And our biggest concern with Idalia is the storm surge risk along the west coast of Florida.
The tropical storm, which intensified into a hurricane, has now passed by the western tip of Cuba, leaving a trail of destruction while flooding the town of Batabano near the city of Havana. Cubans were seen rushing to evacuate their homes and tying down their fishing boats. Floodwaters swamped the small fishing village of Guanimar in south of Havana. Women and children were transported to higher ground amid fierce winds. Further to the west, authorities evacuated tens of thousands of people from Pinar del Rio, as well as the neighboring farm province of Artemisa. Two people have been killed after a fire rescue helicopter crashed into a small apartment complex in Florida's Pompano Beach. The fatalities include one person on the ground and one in the chopper. According to reports, the rescue chopper was en route to provide medical assistance to a mother and daughter involved in a car crash. However, the helicopter started experiencing mechanical issues while it was still airborne. The glitch soon led to a fire on board, and according to the local police, the 3 passengers on board the chopper tried to extinguish the fire. The mayhem that ensued caused the chopper to crash into an apartment building. One of the pilots and a paramedic survived the crash, while the chopper's captain succumbed to his injuries. A woman who lived in the building was also killed due to the impact from the fatal crash. Local police have said that 4 other people were also left injured, and a video doing social media rounds shows the dramatic scene when the helicopter started to malfunction and went into a rapid tailspin before eventually crashing into the building. Both the Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board is set to conduct investigations into the cause of the crash. Rapper Eminem has asked U.S. presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy to stop using, quote, Lose Yourself and other songs from the artist for his campaign playlist. Slim Shady rapper took no time to throw shade at Ramaswamy after the Republican candidate used his songs while campaigning. Ramaswamy had performed a rendition of Eminem's popular song Lose Yourself at the Iowa State Fair earlier this month. Following this broadcast music, a performing rights organization sent a letter to Ramaswamy asking that he stop rapping to Eminem's songs. The letter was sent around 2 weeks after the aspiring presidential candidate showed off his rapping skills. The letter says that the company, quote, received a communication from Eminem objecting to the Republicans' use of his musical composition. A representative for Ramaswamy said that he will comply with the request. Ramaswamy had previously said that Eminem's Lose Yourself was his life's theme song. He addressed the incident on social media as well. He said, and I quote, "Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? He didn't just say what I think he did he?" Unquote. Money can buy you a lot of things, a fancy designer outfit, a top-of-the-line fancy car, even a fancy sea-facing villa. But what if we tell you that money can buy you a new city as well? That's right. If reports are to be believed, Silicon Valley tech billionaires have joined hands to build a completely new city outside the San Francisco Bay Area. Looks like the mysterious new green city in California is finally being unraveled. The would-be megacity is the brainchild of 36-year-old former Goldman Sachs trader Jan Ciramek. Ciramek's goal is to build a walkable clean energy city an hour north of Silicon Valley. His company, Flannery Associates, has been buying large plots of land in a largely agricultural region near Travis Air Force Base, 60 miles northeast of San Francisco. And according to court documents, the company has spent over $800 million to secure thousands of acres of farmland. The tech giants Michael Moritz, Mark Anderson, and Chris Dixon, LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, Stripe co-founder Patrick and John Collison, Q co-founder Daniel Gross, and founder of the Emerson Collective and widow of Apple co-founder Steve Jobs, Lauren Powell Jobs. These are some of the tech giants who've come on board as venture capitalists in Stramek's company. The investors' names were revealed after Solano County residents began receiving a mysterious survey asking them whether they would support a new city. A survey question referred to tens of thousands of new homes, a solar farm, 1 million new trees, and thousands of jobs. Interestingly, even the government was not aware of Flannery's CEO or what the company's intent was. It was only after dozens of parcels showed up near the Travis Air Force Base that made officials open up an investigation regarding the company.